أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شامل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمة في مدينة دمام وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the light of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with a prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Please be seated. Magandang Jensan. And then you will say, here in Jensan, that's our greeting. And then you will say, wow, Jensan. So again, magandang Jensan. Wow, Jensan. Okay. Welcome to the tuna capital of the Philippines, the home of the champions. Indeed, today is magandang Jensan as the city hosts the Open Government and Participatory Governance Regional Dialogues. I am Attorney Rochelle Mahina-Isero, OIC City Director and OIC of Sarangani of the Department of the Interior and Local Government. And like all of you, I am also a proud nation builder. This is the second run in the series of dialogues and consultation being conducted this quarter, and we're happy that it's happening here in General Santos City. Our warmest welcome to our participants from Regions 11. Asa na ang taga Region 11? Pwede mo tindog? Okay, welcome to Jensan Region 11. Asa na ang taga Region 12? Ang taga Region 13? Ubay-ubay ang taga Region 13. And the ARMM. Let us first hear, thank you. Let us first clear on the acronyms here. OJP stands for Open Government Partnership, and the PGC is the Participatory Governance Cluster. We will be informed more of these two important units later. So, as earlier mentioned, the OJP and the PGC team has conducted its first consultation last week in Bacolod City. It was attended by around 300 participants. And I think we are also around 300 here in Jensan for this dialogue. As an overview of the activity, we hope to achieve 5 objectives in this 2-day dialogue. First, to promote and disseminate information on the OGP platform, specifically the 4th National Action Plan, the Participatory Governance Cluster and Roadmap, and other participatory governance initiatives of the Duterte administration. Second, to gather support among local stakeholders in implementing and monitoring the commitments of the 4th National Action Plan. Third, to consult local stakeholders on the content of the PGC Roadmap. Fourth, to provide an avenue for dialogue among local government units and local civil society organizations on developing subnational open government partnership commitments and plans. And finally, to raise awareness on the 2018 national budget and the comprehensive tax reform package. So let me acknowledge the OGP and the PGC team who collaborated and conceptualized this dialogue. From the government, please stand ang taga Department of Budget and Management. Let's give them a big round of applause. From DBM, we also have DILG, the Department of the Interior and Local Government. The Presidential Communications Operations Office, or PCOO. And from the Office of the Cabinet Secretary. From the non-government, we have the Caucus of Development NGO Networks, Code NGO, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Galing Pook Foundation. And of course, we thank our development partner for their support in making this forum possible. The USAID Facilitating Public Investment FPI project. Our activity is dubbed as Open Government and Participatory Governance Dialogue. So we hope that everyone will engage in constructive dialogue and meaningful conversations. We are happy with the diversity of the sectors that are attending today. And we have representatives from the national and local governments, from the CSOs, academe, business groups, public sector unions, and the media. And I'd like to mention that the media here in Jensen, we have partnered with the city government. We have run the conflict resolving media seminar and peace journalism for them. So we look forward to exciting and fruitful discussions. So General Santos City is known for two things, as the tuna capital of the Philippines and the home of the champion. And the champ, of course, Senator Manny Pacquiao. We have another champion today to welcome us in this beloved city, to represent a good local governance champion, Mayor Ronel Rivera of General Santos City. We have with us the City Vice Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please, for Vice Mayor Sherlyn Banyas Nograles for the welcome remarks.
Thank you to our beauteous DILG Director, Attorney Rochelle Mahinay-Cero. Of course, to our guests, we have with us Governor Pax Mangundadato, the Governor of Sultan Kudarat. We have also with us the Governor of Davao del Sur. We have Governor Douglas Cagas, who is also with us. Of course, our Undersecretary for Local Government, who will join us later, Yusek Austre Panadero. From the DBM, who will also join us later, Secretary Benjamin Jokno. Of course, Secretary June Ivasco, who will also join us later. A team from DILG, headed by our Undersecretary, Catalina Uy. All the ASECs who are with us, provincial governors, city and municipal mayors, representatives from the different national government agencies, civil society organizations, representative from the academe, business groups, public sector union, our friends from the media, and our partners from USAID. Maayong buntag sa atong tanan, maayo gid nga aga sa aton nga tanan. Few flafus digamo, mapya mapita sa lagkano tanan. Good morning po. It is with great pride and honor that I welcome you all to General Santos City and of course the tuna capital of the Philippines, and also we're the home of our people's champion, Senator Manny Pacquiao. We are so glad to host this event. And just a few background about General Santos City. Before, we were known as Municipality of Buayan under the province of Cotabato. And later, we were popularly known as Jajangas. But by virtue of Republic Act 5412, we became General Santos City. And come this June 15, we will be celebrating our Golden Charter anniversary. So General Santos is a relatively young city as compared to our neighbors and many of the cities throughout the Philippines. But probably one of the economic enabler of General Santos City, aside from being the tuna capital and the presence of Senator Manny Pacquiao, we are also the gateway to our neighboring provinces, cities, and municipalities. So I hope that we'll have a productive dialogue, and at the same time, you will enjoy your stay here in General Santos City. Our Mayor, Honorable Ronel Chua Rivera, expresses his deep regret because He could join us this morning because of an equally important commitment, but he will join us this afternoon. So, but nevertheless, he is sending his welcome message for all of us. So allow me then to read his message for all of us. I quote, "Maayong pag-abot dinhi sa among dakbayan sa General Santos. The development of the Philippines Open Government Partnership National Action Plan 2017-2019 strive to focus on crafting commitments that would make a direct positive impact on the lives of regular citizens. This is a product of a 9-month planning and consultations process that was jointly led by government and civil society and was able to craft an action plan that contains 12 commitments that will be implemented by national and local government agencies and civil society organizations. 7 of these commitments are new, while 5 are continuing commitments from the 3rd action plan. One unique feature of the new plan is also the inclusion of sub-national commitments by local government. The landscape of participatory governance in the Philippines is evolving. That is why we are gathered here today to respond to the call to hold more dialogues at the local level and be able to promote, to disseminate, and to create massive awareness of the Open Government Partnership Platform, specifically the 4th National Action Plan, the Participatory Governance Cluster Roadmap, and other participatory governance initiative of the Duterte administration. Today, we are joined by representatives from the national and local government, civil society, academe, public sector union, business group media, and other development partners, and the local government of General Santos City is deeply honored to share with you later our story of the lingap sa kabataang ayaw sa droga, of which we were conferred as one of the Galing Puok Awardee 2017. You will hear details of this during the talakayan session on open government practices towards a sub-national OGP plan together with South Cotabato Governor Honorable Daisy Avance Fuentes and Ms. Pura Sumangil of Concerned Citizens of Abra for Good Government. That one is our commitment and best practice in upholding participatory governance and open government. I understand that this gathering expects us to gather more support and commitments among local stakeholders for the National Action Plan and to respond actively during the consultations and dialogues. But I hope let us be more optimistic as we are taking one step forward to effectively implement programs and projects that will benefit majority of our respective constituents. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to the Regional Dialogue 2018 for Mindanao Cluster 2. I hope that you will be motivated and be inspired to hear different perspectives and at the same time learn from them as we join hands together in our journey to create better Philippines. End of quote. So that's the message of our city mayor. So once again, in behalf of Honorable Mayor Ronel Rivera and the members of 18th Council of General Santos City, I welcome you all to General Santos City. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Sherlyn Banyas Nograles. I'd like to call Governor Douglas Cagas to join us here at the presidential table, sir. At this point, some announcements. Participants, you may get your kits from the registration table for those who have not yet got their kits. Wi-Fi, we have Wi-Fi access. It's Greenleaf Hotel, and that's the password. All presentations can be downloaded via Google Drive at the end of the day. So the link is also flashed on the screen. It's https tinyurl.com.ogp.pgc. Parang malabo na. May Gensan PowerPoint. And also, please browse through the posters in the plenary hall. So you can see there sa back na to, then sa gilid man. The posters feature the current initiatives of the OGP, the Fourth Action Plan, and the Participatory Governance Cluster Roadmap, which we will be further discussed today. Also, please like and share the OGP social media accounts. For Facebook, it's Philippine Open Government Partnership, Department of Budget and Management, and Twitter is @OpenGovPH. And at this point, we'd like to show to you a clip from the Bacolod Regional Dialogue.
That he wants to restore the people's faith in government by one, better delivery of public services, and number two, by facilitating their active involvement in governance.
We aim to develop a roadmap that highlights the inclusion and strengthening of the push for sectoral policies and program goals that will directly impact on the lives of the Filipinos.
So this is a challenge for all of us, not only the part of President Duterte or the national government.
Proactive disclosure is transparency seal and full FDPP. Meaning to say the information that is held by government is already disclosed to the public. That's good, but it's only one way. And FOI is a good listening tool.
We look forward to walking alongside our Philippine government counterparts as we collectively pursue a transformative agenda toward more ambitious, receptive, accountable, and people-centric governance.
We will be able to start this year and make a good start wherein we can now say that the national budget is based on the local plans.
We always say that OGP is a global effort to make government better. But to achieve this goal, we must ensure that these efforts are localized and institutionalized at the grassroots also.
Senator Jokno is already here in Gensan. So we will have a 10-minute snack break, and then we will be showing videos of the OGP and the Freedom of Information also galing po for your appreciation po. If you will also look at your programs, you will see that we will have breakout sessions later. And so please look at the briefers and see what groups would you like to join later on. So we'll have a 10-minute snack break.
ang katapatan nitong ating pamahalaan. Sa tagal ng panahon di malaman kung bakit nga ba ngayon lamang nagkatapang damay sa katuparan to. Hindi na pwedeng malay ko pa dyan, at di na pwedeng walang pananagutan. Buksan na ang pinto, buksan pati libro, at nang malaman ng bayan, huwag mong sabihing malay ko, alamin mo ang totoo. Malaya ka na ngayong malaman ang kasaysayan ng bayan, at di ka na maniniwala sa sabi-sabing haka-haka. malaya ka kung may malay ka. Magtanong ka, alamin mo, alamin natin kung tunay nga ang pagbabago. Habang tungo sa tunay na progreso, ito ay para sa lahat, di lang sa nakaaangat. Kaya tayo'y makialam para sa ating bayan. Hindi na pwedeng malay ko pa dyan, at di na pwedeng walang pananagutan. Buksan na ang pinto, buksan pati libro, at nang malaman ng bayan, huwag mong sabihin malay ko, alamin mo ang totoo. Malaya ka na ngayong malaman ang kasaysayan ng bayan. At di ka na maniniwala sa sabi-sabi, haka-haka. Mas malaya ka kung may malay ka. Mas malaya ka kung may malay ka. Ay sigaw ng bayan ay FOI.
We know why you're here. You want your government to serve people better, to get more things done more quickly, to eliminate corruption and waste, to listen and to respond. But did you think it was going to be easy?
Okay, there's an information that the secretary is already here in the hotel, so I'd like to request everyone to settle down. And I'd like to request our provincial governors to stay here in front with our secretary of the DBM. So after the keynote speech, we will have session 1. It's an overview of the Open Government Partnership OGP and Participatory Governance Cluster PGC. It will be delivered to us from the personnel in DBM. Also, session 2, deepening understanding of the civil societies for the 2016 Philippine CSO Sustainability Index Report. And it would be delivered to us by the personnel from MinCode. Session 3, we have lightning talks, the PGC roadmap, Phase 2 initiatives. So we will have 3 speakers, representatives from the Commission on Higher Education, the Department of Health, and Pag-ibig. At around 11:30 today, we will have breakout session 1, the PGC Roadmap Phase 2 proposed initiatives. And then we'll have lunch break and a gallery walk of the OGP and PGC initiatives. Later on in the afternoon will be the message from the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, Secretary Leoncio Evasco. And then we will proceed with session 4, Shaping Good Local Government Agenda via CSO engagement, to be delivered to us by the Undersecretary of the DILG. Session 5 is the Freedom of Information Program. It will be delivered to us by an ASEC of the PCOO. Session 6 today is Hotline 888 by ASEC Evelyn Cruzada. And then we will have an open forum to be moderated by a personnel from PCOO. And then session 7 is the Talakayan sessions on exemplary open government practices of LGUs. So the panelists would be Governor Daisy Fuentes of South Cotabato, Ms. Anisita Baltar of CCAGG, our Mayor Ronel Rivera, and it will be moderated by personnel from Galing Pook Foundation. And then at 4:15 to 5:30, it will be breakout sessions in which we will identify themes for subnational commitment. So it will be a long day for us. At this point, we'd like to acknowledge the arrival of our keynote speaker. And also tomorrow, this is a 2-day dialogue. So tomorrow, there will still be, we will continue with breakout sessions and dialogues and simultaneous activities on how to better improve OGP and government participation. Okay naman.
Ano nga ba ang freedom of information? Ang executive order para sa freedom of information ay nagsasabatas sa pagbubukas ng mga pampublikong dokumento para sa lahat. Ang bawat Pilipino ay may access na sa mga talaan, dokumento, papeles, at datos para sa research ng gobyerno. Dahil sa FOI, makukuha mo na ang mga impormasyon mula sa gobyerno na makatutulong sa lahat ng Pilipino.
We would like to acknowledge the arrival of our Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management, Secretary Benjamin E. Diokno. Magandang Jensen, sir. If our provincial governors could also join our Secretary at the presidential table, please. Also, we acknowledge the arrival of our Undersecretary for Local Government, Austir A. Panadero. Governor Cagas, please, and Governor Pax. At this point, we'd like to call our keynote speaker. He is the chair of the Open Government Partnership Steering Committee and co-chair of the Participatory Governance Cluster. We are privileged to have with us the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management. He is a champion of open government and reform and doesn't need further introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please to our keynote speaker, Secretary Benjamin Diokno.
To Ms. Lorelei Fajardo of the United States Agency for International Development, facilitating public investment project. To the local officials present here, Governor Daisy Fuentes, Governor Dato Pax, magandang umaga po. Co-workers in the national and local government, members of the civil society organizations, NGOs and POs, business groups, international development partners, the media, the academe, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, magandang umaga po. I am pleased to welcome you to the second leg of the Open Government and Participatory Governance Regional Dialogues. This is the second of a series of our town halls and serious conversations with citizens on key priority programs of the government. Last week, we had very productive and interesting discussions in Bacolod City during our Visayas Cluster 1 and kickoff run, so I hope that we will also be as productive as last week's dialogues. Let me begin by sharing some good news. The Philippines is making great progress. We are in a very nice place, so to speak. We are gaining international recognition for governance, openness rather, in governance. We are now number 1 in Asia and number 19 overall in budget transparency. Furthermore, I'm also very proud to share that in the 2017 Freedom of Information Annual Awards, the Department of Budget and Management was awarded as the sole FOI champion department for its outstanding commitment in ensuring openness in public service. Consistent with the goals of the FOI, the DBM is committed to the Philippine Open Government Partnership, which is now implementing its 4th National Action Plan, 2017 to 2019. One of the objectives included in the action plan is the passage of the legislation on access to information, with the FOI as its benchmark program. Emboldened by the promise of real change, the Filipino people elected the country's first Mindanaoan president, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. For the first time, Filipinos have voted for someone from the periphery to become the 16th president of the Republic last May 2016. Coming from Mindanao and from this decades-long local government, and with his decades-long local government experience as city mayor of Davao, the president knows what it is like to be set aside, to call for help only to be left unanswered. He knows what it is like to get left behind. So now we have a strong president who vows to ensure that his promise of real change will be largely felt by all Filipinos. But to make this happen, he also knows that working with the people is an imperative. Given the sheer extent of corruption and red tape in the bureaucracy, we know that changing how the government works would not be possible without the effective mobilization of the civil society and sustained demand from the public, from the very citizens that we are held accountable for. And so in May 2017, the President signed Executive Order number 24 that reorganized the cabinet cluster system and created the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, or PGC. He also created the Office of Participatory Governance under the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, who will be here, if he's not here yet, through Executive Order number 9. And because we all know now under an administration that truly recognizes the value of citizen engagement in governance, we are also sustaining our strong international commitment to making government more transparent, accountable, and participatory through the Open Government Partnership, or the OGP platform. Through these new and continuing citizen engagement programs, we are making sure that governance is not limited to government alone. We open up government, provide the citizens a seat in the policy table, and give them a legitimate say and vote in what the government does and plans to do moving forward. Today is yet another milestone in the way that we practice what we preach in the PGC and in the open government. With the joint effort of the national government, local government, civil society, business sector, and with the support from USAID as our main development partner, we organized this series of dialogues. This will set out to present the various participatory governance initiatives of the Duterte administration and encourage more citizens to help us in the implementation and monitoring of these programs. We also wish to consult various stakeholders on the proposed new initiatives to be included in the Participatory Governance Cluster Roadmap 2017-2022. We aim to develop a roadmap that highlights the inclusion and strengthening of the push for sectoral policies and program goals that will directly impact the lives of the Filipinos at the grassroots. We believe that the impact of any government undertaking will be more completely felt by citizens if we also broaden the focus of participatory governance towards access to and delivery of basic public services in the most effective and less bureaucratic way. There's also a need to engage key actors beyond the central government and towards sub-national government. Secretary June Evasco will set the tone for our discussion later on how we can effectively localize open and participatory governance. We shall discuss our plans to improve local governance and feature selected best practices on open government that are being spearheaded by some of our most progressive local chief executives. Later in the afternoon, we will have a talakayan session on open government practices with featured local chief executives towards a subnational OGP plan as means of advocating, building capacities, and of securing commitment for open government at all levels. As part of our outreach efforts to promote fiscal openness in the bureaucracy, we will also be presenting to you the national budget for 2018 and the budget reform bill tomorrow. And related to this, I am proud to share with you the results of the Open Budget Survey 2017, a global assessment of budget openness based on the amount and timeliness of budget information that governments make available to the public. For the 2017 round, 115 countries were evaluated, and based on the survey results, the Philippines was assessed to be the most fiscally transparent country in Asia, followed by Indonesia, Jordan, Japan, South Korea, and we are very proud of this achievement. We are number one in Asia. On another note, Assistant Secretary Teresa Habitan, officials from the Department of Finance, and key business leaders are also joining us tomorrow to discuss the TRAIN, the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion. The TRAIN is designed to alleviate poverty and unlock the economic potentials of the country. And I'm also proud to announce that we have successfully passed Package 1 of the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, and it was signed into law last December 19, 2017. Tomorrow, we shall then be consulting with you with our second package of tax reform measure. For the next 2 days, we will be packed with interesting sessions and exchanges. And so I would like to take this opportunity to ask you to be actively involved in this forum. Through this forum, we hope you can help us set the direction and narrative of participatory governance in the Philippines. Let your voices be heard and be at the front lines of public sector reform work. Be part of the change you want. The Duterte administration is seriously committed to expanding our citizen engagement work. We are very much looking forward to having deeper conversations and reflections with you through more of the sessions slated in the next 2 days. All sectors are represented in this hall, from national, local government, civil society, the academe, public sector, unions, business groups, and the media. Having said this, I urge you to network and get to know each other better. And for many of us who are not new to this kind of work, let's continue constructively engaging each other. Continue mobilizing. Continue being part of government and pushing government to change. Let's keep the pressure on. It is a huge task. Running the government is a huge task because we are being asked to do things that we've never done before, to go beyond business as usual. But together, we can be a strong force. I think with our shared goals and our heart for public service, we can truly push for real and genuine change to happen in this country. Maraming salamat po, and may you have a very fruitful dialogue today and tomorrow. Salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Jokno. Thank you for those good news, and may we continue to do more for our people through continuously improving our government's transparency and strengthen our accountability and broadening government participation. And as he said, let us be the change, let us be part of the change that we want, and let us keep the pressure on. So at this point, we also acknowledge the presence of Governor Nelson Dayanghirang of Davao Oriental and Governor Steve Solon of Sarangani Province. And now from our development partner, our next speaker is the outreach specialist of the USAID Facilitating Public Investment Project. She has been in public service all her life and a champion of good governance. She was formerly a congresswoman and mayor of Palayan City. She also served as undersecretary and deputy spokesperson in Malacanang during the time of President Arroyo. Currently, she is one of the board of trustees of Pag-ibig. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Lorelai Fajardo.
Secretary Benjamin Jokno, Department of Budget and Management, sir. Secretary Leonjo Evasco, Office of the Cabinet Secretary, will be joining us in a while. Undersecretary Ostier Panadero of the Department of Interior and Local Government. Regional Director Reynold Bungabung of DILG Region 12. Assistant Secretary Chris Ablan, Presidential Communications and Operations Office. Our governors, our mayors, partners from the national government agencies, local government, civil society, private sector, and the academe. Members of the Philippines Open Government Partnership Steering Committee, my colleagues from the USAID Facilitating Public Investments, partners and fellow advocates of open government and fiscal transparency, maayong buntag sa inyong tanan. Magandang Jensen po. I am here representing the United States Agency for International Development, commonly known as USAID. USAID is the lead U.S. government agency that works to end global poverty and enable democratic, resilient societies to realize their potential. I bring you the greetings of the U.S. Ambassador of the Philippines, the Honorable Sung Kim. As you know, both the United States and the Philippines are founding members of the Open Government Partnership. From 8 countries in 2011, it has grown rapidly to 75 members this year. This reflects the global trend toward greater openness, transparency, civic participation, and democratic governance. Open government is a social contract between the government and the people. It is not a privilege but a right of the citizens. Our resolve to promote a government that works for its citizens is crucial in advancing toward our mutually shared goals of inclusive growth and effective governance. It is encouraging to see the Philippines fully committed to an open, responsive, and engaging government. This is demonstrated by a number of open government reforms that our government has put in place after a year in office, including Executive Order Number 2, which operationalizes the people's right to public information, Executive Order Number 6, institutionalizing the citizens' complaints hotline 8888 to encourage the public to serve as a check on improper actions by government officials and employees, and EO number 9, which created the Office of Participatory Governance to promote direct participation of various stakeholders in policy making and program implementation, especially at the grassroots level, and EO number 24, which established the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet to enhance citizens' participation in all government processes. Likewise, the Philippines has welcomed the new year with economic milestone, the passage of the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, or TRAIN Act. This too was a product of thoughtful consultations with various stakeholders throughout the country through the regional OGP dialogues. These tax reforms are expected to generate an additional 130 billion pesos annually, boosting the Philippine government's capacity to fund infrastructure and other public investments that will improve the quality of life of our people. This is the very essence of the Open Government Partnership, actively engaging the public in crafting policies that improve living standards in the country. And in behalf of USAID, we at the FPI project are humbled and delighted as your development partner as we bring together stakeholders to openly discuss policy measures that will have far-reaching impact to the Philippine economy, and the lives of the Filipinos. USAID remains committed to working with your government in sustaining inclusive growth. We have been honored to work with the Department of Finance and Department of Budget and Management to boost fiscal performance, improve public expenditure management, and foster greater fiscal transparency. We commend and support the Philippine government as we engage your citizens and build coalitions among stakeholders as we work together toward the completion of the comprehensive tax reform package. Our continued support for the Philippine Open Government Partnership and Philippine Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative exemplify the U.S. commitment to transparent and participatory governance. USAID works worldwide to build open, responsive, and responsible institutions and processes that serve the needs and preferences of the public. We look forward to walking alongside our Philippine government counterparts as we collectively pursue a transformative agenda toward more ambitious, receptive, accountable, and people-centric governance. Daghang salamat sa inyong tanan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Ms. Lorelai Fajardo, for that strong message of support. OGP is not a privilege by the people, but a right of our people to participate in governance. So, indeed. Okay, some of you may have attended past OGP activities. For others, this might be your first time to hear this acronym. A lot of us may be wondering, what are the functions of the Participatory Governance Cluster? So, to enlighten us on these platforms and government initiatives, let me call on the speaker of our first session. She is the Philippines point of contact of the Open Government Partnership and the technical lead of the Participatory Governance Cluster Secretariat lodged at the Department of Budget and Management. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause please for Ms. Marianne Fabian.
Good morning po, magandang Jensen. Okay, before po ako mag-start ng presentation, I'd like to kick off this morning with a video on the Open Government Partnership here in the Philippines.
The Philippines is one of the founding members of the Open Government Partnership, a multilateral good governance initiative with 75 member countries to date. In the past 5 years, the Philippines has proven to be a leader in implementing excellent reforms towards open governance. Today, it is clear that the values of transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement are the key ingredients of President Rodrigo Duterte's governance agenda.
It is the people from whom democratic governments draw strength, and this administration is no exception. We have to listen to the murmurings of the people, hear their pulse, supply their needs, and fortify their faith and trust in us whom they elected to public office.
The Philippine Development Plan under President Duterte's administration aims to lay the foundation for matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay for all Filipinos by 2040. The strategic framework rests on 3 pillars. Malasakit, for a high-trust and resilient society. Pagbabago, for more inclusive growth. And patuloy na pagunlad, for a globally competitive knowledge economy. This administration's commitment to citizen engagement is clearly demonstrated by President Duterte's executive orders on freedom of information, 8888 hotline institutionalization, creation of the Office of Participatory Governance, and the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet. In the Philippines, the OGP Steering Committee is composed of government and non-government members. After the Participatory Action Plan development process with citizens, the Open Government Partnership works in cycles of 2 years of implementing and monitoring key international government's commitments of the country. Toward the middle and the end of the cycle, the progress of the implementation are assessed, reported, and taken to heart for the next planning cycle. To date, the Philippines has gained significant ground in changing the culture of governance over the past 3 planning cycles.
As one of the 8 founding member countries of the Open Government Partnership, the Philippines has played a leading role in shaping OGP globally. And at the country level, the Philippines has had really transformative commitments on fiscal transparency and mobilizing citizen feedback, which formal oversight institutions have integrated to improve service delivery.
The 4th planning cycle has led to the crafting of the first Open Government National Action Plan under the Duterte administration. With the theme, Co-Creating Governance Outcomes with the Filipino People, it aims to expand the Open Government Partnership's reach and impact by further improving the quality of government services that directly benefit ordinary Filipinos. Under its National Action Plan 2017 to 2019, the Philippines puts forward the following international open government commitments. Strengthen civil society participation in local planning and development.
Our organization is very concerned about promoting participatory local governance. The Open Government Partnership provided a mechanism, an avenue by which we can engage further in the process of using open government data for promoting participation in local governance.
Engage communities in the fight against corruption, criminality, and illegal drugs. Improve the ease of doing business. Expand and institutionalize the citizen participatory audit. Empower citizens with a feedback mechanism on services provided by the government and government-owned or controlled corporations. Pass legislation on access to information.
It's really important when you have a transparent government where records are available to the public to scrutinize. Ordinary citizens will have access, especially with the help of technology, to understand the policies of government and to contribute to those policies. The Senate has always been firm in its commitment to support the freedom of information. I'm confident that my colleagues and I will be able to do this for the good of our country, basically, and also for us to remain accountable to the people and competitive.
Provide e-participation tools through the National Government Portal and promote its use to the whole of government. Increase transparency, integrity, and effectiveness in the management of public resources. Increase transparency and accountability in the extractive industries. Revolutionize mechanisms for evacuation and disaster response. Improve delivery of services to informal settlers and resettled families, and empower them through community organizing. And open local legislative processes through the social media and the web.
This open government partnership is a common practice here in the Philippines. Africa, we have thousands of non-government organizations. Since the restoration of our democracy, it's provided in the law that non-government organizations will have strong participation in local government. It's very important that non-government organization, people's organizations, should be a part in the decision-making, especially for their own communities.
We have been involved with the OGP since the first National Action Plan. But in the last year, we were able to reach out to more CSOs across the region. With our partners in government, we were able to introduce a more inclusive co-creation process leading to better inputs and more commitments for the current National Action Plan. The story of OGP continues with constructive engagement and public service delivery as one of its core platforms. We thank all of those in government and civil society who have participated and committed to this process.
Our participation in the Open Government Partnership clearly shows that the Duterte administration is determined to deliver on our promise to listen to the people and serve them better. We spent several months crafting the new National Action Plan with our citizens from the zone, Visayas and Mindanao, and we are proud to have developed an action plan that is not only attuned to our development goals, but more importantly, responsive to the needs of our people. I'd like to encourage every Filipino to work hand in hand with us in government. Let's share in the responsibility of crafting and implementing these plans. Through OGP, we are promoting a culture of governance that truly works for you. Join us in this exciting journey towards making government more open and accountable.
All right, so that's our video. Again, good morning, everyone. Of course, good morning to my bosses, Sec Ben, Yusek Wastir, to our local government unit representatives here, our mayors, our governors, to our non-government partners from the business, from the civil society organizations, from the academe, from the media, to our USAID partners, to our CSO co-chair, Ms. Patricia Sarenas. Welcome po to the event, ma'am. So I hope everybody's interest was piqued with the AVP that we played. And we hope it primed you for a quick discussion of the history, the context, the current status, and the directions of the Open Government Partnership and the Participatory Governance Cluster of the Cabinet, and how these two similar initiatives are aligned and how these two are working with each other. Okay, so this is just a quick outline of the presentation. I'll try to be as quick as possible. Next slide, please. In 2011, it was a landmark year for our history of reforms as we saw the birth of an international movement for openness. The Philippines, together with Brazil, Indonesia, Mexico, Norway, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and the US founded a movement called the Open Government Partnership, or OGP. In a nutshell po, OGP is really a global effort to make governments better. It aims to secure commitments on transparency, to empower citizens, to fight corruption, to harness new technologies for good governance. And parallel to the establishment of OGP in 2011, another cluster on good governance and anti-corruption under the cabinet was also created. It confirmed our country's commitment to building stronger public institutions that are truly open, responsive, and accountable to the people. Currently po, at the global level, OGP is composed of 75 member countries representing a third of the world's population. And to become a member country of OGP, participating countries must endorse a high-level open government declaration, deliver a country action plan developed with public consultation, and commit to a third-party evaluation that we call the independent reporting mechanism. So medyo mahirap pong maging part of OGP. And the Philippines has been a continuing leading open government country across the world. And as one of the 8 founding members and under the Duterte administration po, the Philippines has remained firmly committed to OGP through our various commitments under the OGP action plans. Fast forward po to 2016. After the political transition, it is important to note that an executive order was signed by President Duterte and has effectively repealed EO number 43 and has reorganized the cabinet cluster system. Under Section 9 of this EO number 24, good governance and anti-corruption were recognized as cross-cutting concerns, thus was mandated to be adopted as part of all the policy frameworks of all cabinet clusters, thus resulting to the dissolution of the good governance cluster. And aside from this, the primary purpose of EO number 24 was to create 2 new cabinet clusters to reflect the main thrust of the Duterte administration. One is the infrastructure cluster and, of course, the participatory governance cluster. The President has consistently made it clear that he wants to restore the people's faith in government by better delivery of public services and by facilitating their active involvement in governance. So this also prompted the creation of the Office of Participatory Governance under the Office of the Cabinet Secretary through EO number 9. Today, the OGP closely works with the Office of Participatory Governance, or OPG, and the PGC in furthering our shared good governance advocacies. Now, in the Philippines po, this is the composition of the OGP Steering Committee. It is a very unique initiative because the National Steering Committee that sets the direction of the initiative moving forward is composed of 50% government representatives and 50% non-government representatives. From national government, we have DBM, chaired by Secretary Diokno. Then we have DILG, DSWD, OCS, NEDA. Then we have from Congress, we invited the House of Representatives and the Senate to also join. And for the local government units, the sitting representative is from ULAP, so the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. From our CSOs, we have 8 representatives, 1 from NCR, 1 from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Our co-chair for the steering committee is from the non-government sector also, Ms. Patricia Serenas, who's also here with us. Then we have from the academe, Jesse Robredo Institute of Governance from LaSalle, and UP, National College of Public Administration. From the business sector, we have Phoenix, the Financial Executives of the Philippines, and from the public sector union, we have PS Link, our Public Services Labor Independent Confederation. So the non-government members are elected by their own sectors, so that's unique. The government never meddles with the selection of CSO representatives in the steering committee. as long as the process is transparent and participatory. Now, how does OGP relate to the cabinet, to the participatory governance cluster? So with the issuance of EO number 24, we at OGP aligns ourselves closely with PGC as it promotes the following similar goals. So we both want to enhance citizen participation in government. We want to enable the public to understand, rationalize, and implement national government programs and projects based on area-specific realities. It's also why we are doing these regional dialogues po. So we also want to strengthen consultation mechanisms to ensure effective implementation of programs and projects. We want to propose policies, programs, and projects that would foster participatory governance and build the capacities of our LGUs for such purpose. The Department of Budget and Management, together with the Department of the Interior and Local Government, serve as the co-chairs and secretariat of both the OGP and the PGC. After the first official cluster meeting last October 2017, the initial participatory governance cluster roadmap was approved. And this roadmap are initially anchored on of course, the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022 and the Philippine OGP Plan 2017 to 2019. The cluster also unanimously approved the harmonization of PGC and OGP's efforts as they both pursue similar undertakings. And in our current setup, the OGP platform serves as the main consultation mechanism of the PGC. And PGC also subscribes and responds to Chapter 5 of the Philippine Development Plan. So that's towards achieving a people-centered, clean, and efficient delivery of public goods and services. Specifically po, it's aligned with the subsector outcome on citizens fully engaged and empowered, which endorses the promotion of participatory governance, ensuring public access to information, and the institutionalization of response and feedback mechanisms as strategies for better governance of government programs. Now, bakit po ba kami nandito? Part din po ng mandate or requirements under EO number 24 is to create a 6-year roadmap. We are required to develop this performance and projects roadmap which shall identify critical targets and annual deliverables of the cluster related to its mandated goals. And also, in October 2017, when the first meeting of the PGC was held, key decision items from the meeting included the approval of the initial or Phase 1 PGC performance and projects roadmap. The initiatives, like what I said earlier po, is initially sourced from the PDP Plan 2017 to 2022 and the PHOGP National Action Plan 2017 to 2019. Now, on screen po, you have the identified initiatives under the Phase 1 of the roadmap at the back. These are also shown through the gallery walk. Later on, you can visit po, and then we have post-its po on the side if you have any comments on all of the initiatives that we are bringing down in these dialogues. You can get a post-it, write down your comments, then post it on the specific poster that you are interested on. But as the roadmap po is still a work in progress, given our current dialogues that we are holding in different regions, the final list of the initiatives under the PGC roadmap might still change after we conclude the Phase 2 development process, which will end at around the second quarter of 2018. The expansion of the roadmap po is one of the main reasons why we invited all of you here today. And I will discuss later on the expansion process in more detail. And on the other hand, these are the priority legislative agenda of the cluster. So we have the passage of the Budget Reform Act, the passage of an act right-sizing the national government to improve public service delivery, the issuance of a concurrent joint Congress resolution on the revised base pay schedule of the military and uniformed personnel. This has been done na po, check na po siya. The passage of the Unified National Identification System Act, this National ID. Then People's Broadcasting Corporation Charter Bill. The passage of the FOI, of course. We are joined also by our PCOO senior officials, mainly by ASIC Chris Ablan, who will discuss the program later with you in more detail. And of course, the shift of the government to federalism. Now, as you can see po, ano nga ba yung klase ng engagement na pwede nating magawa sa mga ganitong klaseng programa? Now, we are following po a spectrum of public participation. So, medyo malabo lang po on your screens. But according to the spectrum, there are 5 levels of engagement with government. Una, the government's promise is we will keep you informed. So that's transparency. So one of the platforms is the FOI portal, the Open Data Initiative, the full disclosure policy that our local government units are implementing. Then pangalawa po, we will keep you informed. We will listen and acknowledge your concerns and aspirations, and the government will provide feedback on how your public input influenced the discussion. So that's consultation. This is what we're doing right now. We will be consulting with you, our programs po. So, and the third level in the spectrum is involvement, where the government promises to work with our citizens to ensure that your concerns and aspirations are directly reflected in the alternatives developed, and provide feedback on how your inputs are influenced, how your input influences the decision making. We will also do that here. We will doing the workshops, and this is also being done by other consultative mechanisms by other multi-stakeholder groups, just like the Philippine OGP Steering Committee. Then we also have collaboration, where the government's promises to look into you for advice and innovation in formulating solutions and incorporating your advice and recommendations into the decisions to the maximum extent possible. So this is being done through the establishment and institutionalization of multi-stakeholder committees of certain programs like the OGP. Now the FOI is exploring the institutionalization of an advisory committee on freedom of information, where members are both government and non-government representatives. And at the last level of the spectrum is the empowerment, where we will implement what the stakeholders will decide. So depending on the discussion, the decision items from any meeting or any discussion will take effect after the said deliberation. So, okay. So I think an example of that is participatory budgeting at the local level, where citizens identify their priorities and the government provides funding to the identified solutions at the local level. In OGP po and in the PGC under the initial roadmap, citizens are already participating in the various aspects of planning, development, implementation, down to the monitoring of particular government programs and projects. For example, at the back po you will see all of these initiatives, but to cite a few programs, COA's Citizen Participatory Audit engages volunteers and selected civil society organizations as citizen auditors. So they are, deputized as citizen auditors and teamed up with state auditors in conducting performance audits. So both the citizens and the state auditors writes the audit report and findings after the conduct of the performance audits. Another example is the Philippine Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. It has a multi-stakeholder group composed of business sector, civil society organizations, national government, local government, that sets the direction of the initiative at the national level. Similarly, as what I've said earlier, FOI is now exploring the formation of an advisory committee composed of government and non-government stakeholders that will help flesh out policy issues and will serve as a non-government feedback mechanism on FOI implementation in the bureaucracy. Also, of course, the assistance to disadvantaged municipalities, or now the Assistance to Municipalities program, engages third-party monitors in the assessment and evaluation of infrastructure projects under the program. So these are just a few examples, and later on during our workshop, we should be able to explore more how the citizens and the government can work together to better implement our programs at the local level. Now, we are now on the phase 2 of the development of the cluster roadmap, one of the main reasons of why we're here today. During the same meeting in October 2017 po of the PGC, the development process or the expansion process of the roadmap of the PGC was proposed and then approved, so we can expand the roadmap to include initiatives that resonate more to citizens and have more concrete impact at the grassroots level. So you tell us po, local government and our non-government partners, is what you want and what you need to be included under the roadmap. What government programs should be implemented in your localities. So pursuant to the cluster's instruction, kami po sa Secretariat have initiated and led a SED-approved process which started with fleshing out the criteria for selection of the priority initiatives to be included in the roadmap. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, ito po yung criteria for selection. 5 po. So, kailangan align siya with the Duterte administration's good governance agenda, meaning what is stated in the Philippine Development Plan, what is in the 0+10 socio-economic agenda, what is in the Philippine Open Government Partnership Action Plan. And of course, it's relevant to good governance principles and objectives. Ano po ba yan? Later in the next slide, I will discuss them po. And of course, it should have existing funding. We can't implement programs without funding. And the targets should be clear, measurable, should be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. And where possible, impact should be concretely felt at the local level. So these are mainly frontline, service delivery programs, and lifeline services from the OH, from DepEd, from the We want those kinds of programs po. So next slide po. These are the good governance values that all PGC initiatives should be anchored on. It should have elements of transparency, disclosure, or active disclosure. It should have elements of citizen participation. It should have elements of accountability, anti-corruption. And of course, it should have elements of technology used as a leverage to improve governance. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a quick overview of the process. We just started with the call for commitments in November. And after a few months of consolidating proposals from the agencies, we are now on the 5th stage of the process where we consult the initial list of the commitments that we have gathered from selected national government agencies. Ayan po. So this is the second leg of the consultations. We still have 4 more legs to go before we are able to review again and finalize the commitments under the roadmap that we're developing. Next slide, please. Okay, and of course, this process ends via a big launching activity. The PGC, together with the other clusters of the cabinet, the HDPR, the Human Development and Poverty Reduction Cluster, the Economic Development Cluster, the Environment, Climate Change Cluster, the Security and Peace and Rule of Law Cluster, the Infrastructure Cluster, all of us together will be launching our own roadmaps in one big event. So that's the plan po moving forward. This will happen around June 2018. So we hope some of you can also join that event when it happens. There. So right now we are on our second leg. We have 4 more to go. The first one was in Bacolod. The second one here in Jensan. We have 2 for Luzon, 2 for Visayas, and 2 for Mindanao. The next leg will be in Zamboanga, then Metro Manila po, Baguio City, and Tacloban. So we're really going around. So we'd have a very exhaustive process in coming up with a roadmap. Because we are the Participatory Governance Cluster, we ensure that the process of developing our roadmap or our action plan will also be participatory. Okay, next slide. Now, on screen, you see the proposed Phase 2 initiatives. From the call for commitments, we have received around 6 programs proposed to be included in the expanded version. And this came from the Commission of Higher Education, from the Department of Health, from Pag-ibig, and from the Office of Civil Defense. We have our resource persons from these agencies except for OCD. And the resource persons who are here today will explain to you further ano nga po ba itong mga programang ito at paano nga ba tayo mas makakapag-engage sa kanila at the local level. And then later on during the workshop, we will flesh out the design of their initiatives and we will seek clarification, paano nga ba tayo mas makakapag-engage pa sa kanila better? Sige po, next slide. Now, the past 6 years has been a very successful for the Open Government Partnership and for the Open Government Agenda in the Philippines. We have received various awards on participatory budgeting, on the Citizens Participatory Audit, on the Seal of Good Local Governance, on the Ease of Doing Business internationally. And moving forward, we want to sustain our commitment to open government and participatory governance. And next slide po, please. And in fact, just like what Sec Joknos mentioned, just on January 30, 2018, just a few days ago po, we were announced to be #1 in Asia in terms of fiscal openness. This is also part of our OGP commitments. In 2019 pa, pero as early as 2018, we have already achieved the target. Hopefully, we can increase our score more and make our disclosures on the budget process and participation of citizens more enhanced in the coming years po. Okay, I think that ends my presentation. As a conclusion lang po, we'd like to reiterate our call for our local government partners who are here with us today to help us develop our national plan on open government and participatory governance. As regional actors and local actors of development, you will play a key role in making sure that the priorities that we have laid out under the roadmap is resonating with the needs at the grassroots level. I think yun lamang po, and I will pass on the mic again to our MC. Thank you very much.
So that is the overview of the Open Government Partnership OGP, the Participatory Governance Cluster, and the 4th National Action Plan by Ms. Marianne Fabian. So thank you, Ms. Marianne. We have heard from the government, so we proceed to session 2, which is the deepening of our understanding of CSOs. So 2016 Philippine CSO Sustainability Index Report would be delivered to us by personnel from the MinCode. So the key principle espoused in the OGP and PGC is participation of non-government sector, primary of which is the civil society. And to effectively engage CSOs, one must be familiar with the sector. Our second session aims to deepen our understanding of the civil society organizations. To present the results of the 2016 Philippine CSO Sustainability Index Report, we have with us the co-chair of the Philippine OGP Steering Committee. She is the chair of the Mindanao Coalition of Development NGO Networks, or MinCode, and board member of the Caucus of Development NGO Networks, Code NGO. Code NGO is the largest coalition of CSOs in the country, representing 12 networks or 1,600 non-government organizations, people's organizations, and cooperatives. Code NGO is also the non-government secretariat of the Philippine OGP since 2017. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Ms. Andrea Maria Patricia Sarenas.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Magandang Jensen. Ulitin natin. Makakagalitan tayo ng mga taga-Jensen. Magandang Jensen. Okay. Buzzword na yun nila eh. Kailangan gawin mo pag nandito ka sa Jensen. So, ulitin. Magandang Jensen. Yan. Feel nyo dapat yung wow, Jensen. Sige. Good morning. When the dialogues were being planned, one of the things that came to our mind was that maybe not everyone who will come to the dialogue would understand that when you talk about participatory governance, you really have another partner outside of government. Participatory governance nga eh. So, you have, as your partners, civil society organizations, and people in the communities as your partners in governance at all levels, from the barangay to city, municipal, to provincial, to regional, to sub-regional, Mindanao, Luzon, Visayas, at saka national. So, at all those levels, kausap dapat ng gobyerno ang civil society organizations. And for many years, that has been our story, those of us in that other side, in participatory governance, the civil society organizations. So, yung ipipresent ko sa inyo is a study that was done in 2016. No? So, end of 2016. The whole 2016 ang pinag-aralan. So, there was a transition period in June 2016. And that study, okay, hindi siya first time ginawa, but it has been done since 1997. Globally, by the way, civil society also is quite organized globally. So, we come together under Civicus, under AGNA, in Asia, marami hong mga networks of CSOs. But one of the studies, I think also commissioned by USAID, was to study the sustainability of CSOs globally. And in 1997, launched yan in Eastern Europe and Europe-Asia, the one that transcends the two continents, to measure progress of civil society development. Noong 2009, nag-expand yung study to include Africa, in East, Southern, and Western Africa. In 2011, introduced to Middle East and North Africa, wala pa rin Asia, no, to study CSO sustainability. It was used to measure programming success by USAID as well as other donors. This was used by CSOs to advocate for funding for civil society from both US and European sources. In 2014, a year before the study that I will present, baseline study was done for 7 more countries in Asia, and that included the Philippines. Next. What does the Sustainability Index study do? It looks at the legal environment by which we operate, the organizational capacity of civil society organizations, our financial viability, our advocacy, how do we do our advocacy work, our service provision work, infrastructure, and public image. So you know yung tinitignan ng when we do the study. So what happens in a country that does a sustainability index study? No? An experts panel of 8 to 10, minsan expanded nga, carefully selected individuals that ensure a balanced representation, urban and rural CSOs, national and local, big and small networks, advocacy and service delivery type of NGOs across all the 7 dimensions I mentioned earlier. So, medyo makuti ang magpili doon sino yung 7 experts. At pag upo sa table, medyo parang expert pala tayo. Anyway, on all the 7 areas. But again to say, CSOs are, as earlier mentioned, are NGOs, are people's organizations. So dyan papasok ko yung workers groups, farmers, fishers, women, children, indigenous peoples, and all other sectoral groups, cooperatives, and other self-help groups. Sila ho yung ini-study nung Okay, so meron nung 7-point scale na ginagamit, and that's there. And the scores are clustered into 3 stages. Are we sustainability enhanced? Is our sustainability still evolving, or or is our sustainability being impeded? So nai-study ho yun sa CSO Sustainability Index. Okay, next, please. Okay. Ito ho yung where we are at. The Philippines is sustainability evolving still. No? Yun ho kasi yun, if you look below, enhanced, evolving, or impeded. Hindi naman tayo impeded, hindi pa naman tayo sa enhanced. Pero konting nudges na lang, pwede nang maging sustainability enhanced. No? At karamihan ho ng other countries, sustainability evolving pa. So, like I said, we are members of other networks, globally or regionally Asia-Pacific, and a lot of sharing happens when we come to meetings or conferences. And so, na-affirm naman. So, across the items in the study, sa legal environment, sustainability evolving, hindi naman impeded. There are many laws, many ordinances that OGP and Participatory Governance Cluster allows that. So that's hindi naman tayo impeded. Sa legal environment, sa organizational capacity, ganun din. No? Financial viability, yun yung lowest score ng Philippine CSOs. No? Evolving, but not quite as high as the grades in other items. Sa advocacy, between sustainability evolving, service production, shoot in between, infrastructure, and I'll go to that later on, sustainability enhanced na, public image, sustainability evolving then. No? There are details of the study and they're available in the websites, but I'm presenting the summary. Okay. Ang Pilipinas, 104, yun yung nakalista. Although those of us who work in CSOs know, ang dami hong Pilipino na hindi nakalista. So there are really more people than 104. Human Development Index, our rate is 116. In CSOs in the Philippines, registered CSOs, kasi maraming hindi naman pa formally registered. 279,499 registered CSOs in the country. Dami ho yan. No? 164 are non-stock, non-profit per the record of the Securities and Exchange Commission. There are cooperatives. There are homeowner associations. Kasi ito ho yung mga registering bodies, no, ng ano. And we have workers' unions and associations registered under DOLE. And then, other government agencies, meron din silang mga accreditation or registering mechanisms. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay. Ito ho yung comparative ho nung 2014 and 2016. Okay. 2014 being green, 2015 is red, and 2016 is green. Deeper green or blue na dapat yan, blue. Na ano. Okay, so may mga improvements ho sa ating index in the infrastructure image natin, mataas-taas na ho tayo. Sa sustainability enhanced na karamihan, evolving karamihan, and a few that are sustainability enhanced. Okay, next slide please. Okay. Bakit sustainability evolving tayo? Bayanihan is deeply ingrained. It is part of the study, also has narrative. There are narrative chapters that speak of narrative reports, no? So bayanihan is deeply ingrained in the Philippine culture. Sa amin ho sa CSOs, kultura ho namin yung nagtutulungan, nagsisharean ng modules, nagsisharean ng resource persons, nagsisharean ng experiences. At tumatanga ho si Sam, si Sam Gutok from Marawi with a big problem. She tells us how CSO, she very well knows how we are working very closely together, bayanihan sa Marawi. So governments is fairly open to CSOs, although democratic space has expanded or constricted slightly depending on political dynamics across the country, studied across the country. Change, back please. Change in leadership led to a review of previous administration programs, because we're talking 2016, no? So dalawa continuing increase in donor and international community support for humanitarian and disaster recovery programs, more focused on training. Pero marami pa rin hong CSOs na kulang sa resources. Okay, next. Okay. Sa legal environment ho, maliwanag yun. We always cite mandates for people's participation or for CSO engagement. So supportive ho yung legal framework na 1987 Constitution. There's the local government code. There are still parts of local government code for people's participation that is not very strongly implemented yet. We're always monitoring that. Primary registration is relatively easy. However, registration offices in many regions are absent. So yung SEC, kailangan are not in all the regions in the Philippines. More difficult for CSOs to access government funds, mainly due to additional requirements. That time frame is 2016. Public statements, we all know, against human rights groups who are critical of government approaches in curtailing illegal drugs and surge in incidents of drug-related killings that affected, that somehow was a legal environment that was something that we have to deal with. So there are perceived attempts, of course, to silence dissent, and we may agree or not agree, but that's the perception of the CSOs. Next. Organizational capacity, community-centered, involving many beneficiaries in programming. So that my wish, as I was sitting down and looking at the the participatory governance cluster activities, I hope po mas marami hong ma-involve na from the communities in the process of looking at that roadmap. Something that Richard talked about last night, that the PGC cluster action plan is still being prepared. Okay. Constituency building centered mainly on voters' education at that time, 2016, because it was an election year. Many farmers associations started their strategic planning and OD initiatives, several capacity building activities for DRR and humanitarian response. Ang dami ho naging disasters through the years, from Andong to Sendong, to Ondoy to Sendong, to Pablo, and the many little disasters that hit us. Frontliners so yung mga farmers groups natin, fishers groups, and kung meron ng quick assessment of the area after a disaster, those are your POs and your community leaders that are at work who give you the basis for information for other agencies that come in with the relief. So yan. Largely project-based pa rin ho ang many of the CSOs. And core staff still want their scope of work and training. They work beyond their scope and work and training, even using their own equipment for work. Okay. Summary ho ito. Mas maraming detalye dyan. Next, please. Financial viability, which is our not very good score. CSR, the corporate social responsibility and corporate philanthropy continues to grow. We have many corporations that have CSR programs, and they are very quick to respond, especially during disaster times. No? But they're moving from PR to greater social impact, kasi noon, feeling namin pang PPR lang yun ng corporation. But eventually, as they got more people in who had CO, community organizing, and community management skills, nag-move na ho sa more beyond public relations lang yung goal ng CSR. And they're now looking at even inclusive business, greater social impact. And many of them are quite active. And they do consortium projects in many areas. The increasingly local resource mobilization among community-based organizations, church-based groups, non-profit schools, from local businesses, politicians, and parent-teachers associations, those also include, are very important in resource mobilization for CSO work. Tapos, of course, like I said, there's really an influx of grants for disaster response, and most CSOs would go beyond just relief. After a week of relief work, many CSOs on the ground would really start to look at early recovery, and many eventually really look at planning for long-term rehabilitation. So yun ho yung continuum of the work that we do whenever disaster starts. There's quick response for the relief, but we try to tell our partners that beyond relief, we need to do early recovery and then long-term rehabilitation. Okay. Former CSO champions that year, 2015 and 2016, dalawang types of maraming former CSO champions in government. The first half of 2016, many got out from the service in 2016, middle of 2016. Tapos, now we found many challenges in coordinating with the new heads of agencies. 2016, government started to organize a network of supporters through I think there are some representatives here from Kilusan Pagbabago, that needs another discussion. Some government programs were suspended or changed. So that was the reality in 2016. At the end of the year, 2016, those were things that kind of concerned many of the CSOs as we did the sustainability index. Okay, next. Service provision continued to provide highly diverse range of goods and services. CSO goods and services are generally responsive to the needs of the communities, especially in the humanitarian sector. That year, growing need for legal services for marginalized groups, particularly for poor families, for whatever reason, killed in the illegal drug war, that is our perception. A cost recovery for CSO services remains weak, and the concern that government will act unfavorably toward human rights groups and CSO supportive of previous administration's program. 2016, a lot had happened since then, December 2016. And in fact, we are sitting soon to do the CSO Sustainability Index study of 2017 very soon. So we think we are seeing some improvements from what we saw at the end of 2016. Okay. Next. Infrastructure. Business, church, mainly for disaster response and poverty reduction programs. Increase in cross-sectoral partnerships. No? When there's a disaster, nag-hold hands ang everybody. A number of CSO networks and associations continue to provide training for advocacy, platforms, and other services for their members. We have continued support for locally identified projects by local funding institutions, and many of them CSRs. No? So that would include Peace and Equity Foundation, FSSI, FPE, PEF. No? So yun. Coalition building continued to grow. Coalitions of CSOs in the country became stronger in that year. No? And they're stronger now, in fact. Okay. Yung negative publicity that was around that year, Napoles and everything, naapektuhan ho ang legitimate NGOs. And that took a lot of time from our work to do a lot of work for damage control or trying to explain who we are and what we do. Yun yung ano. CSO wanted to continue to figure prominently in the disaster risk reduction and humanitarian response, post-Yolanda and post the other type, the smaller calamities in 2016. Tapos, the use of social media, that was very effective for us. We focus on national and local elections. Media focus on that, but not much coverage on CSO work for the campaign. Philippine Trust Index still deems CSOs and business as least trusted institutions. Yan yung study, Philippine Trust Index. Mechanism because of the Napoles scam. Mechanisms, the code of conduct, certification yet to spread to broader sector. But we do have mechanisms to police ourselves. Okay, so ito ho yung CSO Sustainability Index in Asia. The Philippines fares quite well. ang ating scores in all the higher the score, the not so good. So, ang ating 3 naman tayo mostly, except in financial viability. So, compared to the rest who have even 4.8, which is very close to 5 na, 4.7. See. Next. Earlier reports ito, notes from the 2015, tend to underrate themselves, particularly for legal environment. Philippine CSO sector is known to be vibrant. We're known globally to be vibrant sector. CSO participation happens at all levels. It could have rated itself to 2 or even 1. Pagtapos ko kasi ng rate nung group, sinasubmit ito globally and Lorelai will know this. Talagang they either agree, no, there's a bigger experts team, or disagree with our rating. They ask us, in fact, to review it again. No? So, ang tingin daw nila sa amin, we underrated ourselves. Disparity between small and big NGOs cited on financial viability. It might be useful if this finding can be measured in terms of Gini coefficient and other similar measurement. So, para sa isang komunidad, may 2 taong mayaman dyan. That's not mean to say buong komunidad mayaman. So, yun yung kailangan ma-check yung how Gini coefficient the result is. Workers' unions seem to be not represented in the study, and something is being done already for the newer studies. Amplify local perspectives to facilitate similar practices at local levels. We want to do it more locally. Study our CSOs on the local level. Review also the indicators. Are they comprehensive enough to cover the full richness of the sector's characteristics? Internal access, a factor of internal capacity, or costly external infrastructure or policy environment. Sana masali din daw. So ways forward. We are looking at the gaps in its side dimensions as opportunities for the sector to develop programs. In other ways, we explore ways for cost recovery, diversifying our income source or our fund sources. We learn to communicate our work more effectively, to partner with media, and this is happening in many parts of the country. 2014 Philippine Trust Index, drivers of trust for CSOs, incorruptibility, help those in need, free from political interests, competent leaders, provide jobs and livelihood, communicates and listens. Provide jobs and livelihood, the trust for improving social enterprises around the country is quite strong, and there are many models of very successful social enterprise programs already that has really increased the economic empowerment of many communities around the country. So, use the areas where the sector is strong: advocacy, service provision, and infrastructure as leverage to contribute to financial viability. That's where we are weakest, no? And study our best practices, focus on a few areas where we are good at, look at our value-adding services and programs, and set up structures around it. Okay. We need to also disseminate report to a wider audience, form an advocacy group to promote policies addressing CSO sustainability problems. To support the sustainability of the sector, we should provide infrastructure for peer learning and documentation of group practices, opportunities for other sectors to give back to the sector through mentoring, and that is happening. Social enterprise projects in many parts of the country, full value chain ho yan, kasama ho yung mga colleges and universities, and local government units, ang local business groups, kasama ho sa enterprise. So talagang meron ng opportunities for other sectors to work with CSOs. We should continue to invest, balik po, in the youth. Klarong-klaro ho sa amin yon ngayon, that we need to have the youth involved in our programs. Okay, next, please. Konti na lang ho ito. So why is it very important for CSOs to engage in the OGP and participatory governance processes? Di naman ho to first time. Before, as you've seen in the from the very beginning, when we started OGP in the UN, 8 countries in the world, 2 from Asia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, maliwanag na when you talk open government partnership, you're working with civil society. So yun yung why it is important, therefore. We cannot, therefore, turn our back to it, to OGP. We have been there. We will continue to be there. No, we will not drop it, no, like a hot potato. So we conduct our own independent assessment of government performance and the action and behavior of government officials. We continue to be the voice of the marginalized because we are closest to the ground. And we are perhaps, and many of us are, especially for our people's organizations, they are marginalized. So nasa ground. We help to educate and disseminate information on government programs and projects for the sectors. In the consultation for the 4th National Action Plan of OGP, malaki ho yung role na plinay ho ng mga CSOs. So we help to mobilize local organizations, communities to fully participate in local governance processes. And many of us really work with our local mayor, city, municipal, our provincial governors, and many of us are seated in regional development councils. In the local development councils, we are seated there in the special body. So meron hong pagpa-participate in the local governance process. Next. Ito na ho yung final. Why is it important? Because we like to, this whole Philippines, ang ating gobyerno is like an Filipino house. We will do what we can, each of us, the government and us, and then we have to build on what has been done already. What has been done that was good, we will continue. We always reflect. That's also how we do it. How did it go before in programs that we work with government with in the past? Kung mabuti, anong itutuloy? Ano yung mga aspeto na pwedeng ituloy? Ano yung mga aspeto na dapat i-improve? So we are quite creative. We'll be like a river. Kasi nagtitinginan, be like a river. If block, di ba? Sam, may smile si Sam. You seek alternative routes. You really want to rehabilitate Marawi kasi taga Marawi ka at ang sakit-sakit ng gera na yon. Meron mga programa ng kung hindi hanap ng alternative paths, no? So that's our role. And always to keep the values and our goals in mind. In mind and in heart. So pag nakita-kita, I don't see Sam very often, but I see her on Facebook. I know how she feels about Marawi. Many of us, this is a Mindanao, the first Mindanao dialogue. May iba hong feeling ang Mindanao CSOs compared to the CSOs in other parts of the country. After all, tayo naman yun ho sa Mindanao, ang ngayon ay nasa under martial law. So talaga hong we keep our goals in mind and we will always bear it at heart that whatever happens, whatever programs come in, where we can work together with government, we will work together with government. Where we are unable to, we will seek alternative groups, but always bearing in mind that we abide by our development principles of justice, of love and peace, particularly in Mindanao. So, yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Thank you po, Ms. Arenas. So as shown, indeed, the CSOs are a potent force to move our country. No? They play a crucial role in moving for a better country. So yung gusto ko yung be like a river. So sana hindi lang po sa CSO, sana tayo din po sa government sector. Be a river. Kasi daw if it is blocked, so akala ko maglumpat ma'am, magambak, but find alternative roads. So okay yun? So yung mga process-oriented dyan, yung magsabi na hindi pwede, so anong pwede, di ba? Okay. At this point, on to our third session on the PGC Roadmap, Phase 2 Proposed Initiative. So we will have lightning talks from representatives of implementing agencies. We term them as lightning talks since they will be explaining their initiatives with lightning speed. We will give each speaker 5 minutes, and after their talks, we will be breaking into groups according to agency. So you may hold off your questions for the breakout sessions later. So let us start with our first representative. Our first speaker is from the Department of Health. So please help me welcome on stage. A round of applause for Dr. Johanna Malyari.
Good morning po. So I would just like to correct po. I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm a pharmacist po. I'm from the Department of Health, Pharmaceutical Division, where the Philippine National Formulary System is lodged. So, next slide please. Just to give po a brief background on the Philippine National Formulary for those who are not yet familiar with it. So the PNF, or the Philippine National Formulary, is a government-approved selective list of essential medicines that guides the procurement and supply of medicines in the public sector. So as per Executive Order number 49, series of 1993, only the medicines listed in the formulary can be procured by government health facilities. Kaya po, very important siya na reference ng mga government hospitals, government health centers. Also, the PNF serves as the scheme for drug reimbursement by PhilHealth. So as per the National Health Insurance Act of 2013, only the medicines included in the PNF can be reimbursed by PhilHealth. So next po. Last year, August 9, 2017, the Department of Health issued the Administrative Order number 2017-0013. So this is regarding the guidelines for patient engagement in the activities of the PNF. So next po. So at the DOH, we think that the PNF is a good venue for a two-way interaction between the government and the citizens because it serves as the country's essential medicines list. The DOH upholds its commitment to openness and transparency and recognizes that the civil society organizations, or the CSOs, and the public can provide valuable contributions in the development of the formulary po, no? So further, patients have a societal right to participate in policy decisions relating to patients' right to health at the community level and the national level. So because the patients, or you po, or all of us, we are the recipients of the health services provided by the government, so it is important for us to participate in the policy decision making. Next. So with the issuance of the said AO, patient groups are now involved or are now considered as proponents, of the formulary system. Next, please. So the scope of the AO, it covers all CSOs, which include among others, sige, pa-click lang po, thank you, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, mga patient groups, faith-based organizations, and other indigenous peoples movement and other institutions that promote the interests of the citizen. So if this will be included in the PGC roadmap, our targets are as follows. In 2017, so na-issue na po yung guidelines. This year, 2018, we hope to receive applications from the CSOs, and we want to engage the CSOs in the public consultation as well as to invite them as resource persons when deemed necessary. In 2019 to 2022, in addition to those previously mentioned indicators, we also want to conduct capacity building activities for CSOs regarding health technology assessment, or HTA, so that the CSOs can further understand po paano yung process of selection natin in the formulary. Next po. So qualifications of CSOs, they should be member of the PAPO. They should also be registered with Securities and Exchange Commission. Next, please. Participation. So ito po yung importante. How can CSO participate in the activities of the formulary? So the CSOs are now allowed to submit applications for inclusion into and deletion from the PNF using a prescribed form. The CSO are also encouraged to actively report any untoward reaction experience related to the use of a medicine, since the patients, they have direct experience dun po sa epekto ng isang gamot. They shall also be invited to the public consultation of medicines prioritized for evaluation. Representatives shall also be invited to the meetings of the Formulary Executive Council when deemed necessary. Kindly note, however, that they will act solely as resource persons, but they will not be allowed to vote. Pero kahit naman po hindi sila pwedeng magboto or hindi po kayo pwedeng magboto, you will be allowed po to submit comments on the recommendation of the PNFEC if you do not agree or kung may appeal po sila. Next po. So yung details po on the application process, how you can apply for inclusion, these are all detailed in the AO. And then next please. Conflict of interest, very important to declare any support received from pharmaceutical companies or other private organizations, because failure to do so shall forfeit the application submitted. So that would be all po. I will be happy to entertain questions later during the breakout session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johanna Malyari. Our next set of speakers comes from Pag-ibig. So sabi nga ni Ma'am Jane, may dalawang Pag-ibig. Tama na nga naman po, Ma'am, kasi as government officials, pwede po Pag-ibig 1 and 2 na contribution. Pero ngayon po, dalawang speaker po ng Pag-ibig. So the first one is the Senior Vice President of Pag-ibig. Please welcome Senior Vice President Fermin Santa Ana. A round of applause, please.
Morning. Magandang Jensan. Hindi po ako Santa Ana kundi Santa Teresa po. Anyway, for Pag-ibig Fund, we have two priority initiatives that we submitted as part of the PGC 6 years roadmap. And one of this is the group housing. What we will do this morning is to present to you the programs that we have. Then we will take this opportunity to listen to the feedbacks that we will be generating after this presentation, so that this can be internalized, this can be studied, and possibly to include in our policy making process. And we are very lucky because si Trustee Relly here is not just a part of the organizing team, but she is also one of the board of trustees of Pag-ibig Fund, who is as we said, the policy making body. So kung ano man yung feedbacks that we could generate this morning, si Ma'am Relly na po bahala, who will help us convince the board of trustees to implement. So just as a snapshot, Pag-ibig Fund, as you all know, this is our fund. We now have a total of 17.6 million members, and total asset close to 500 billion pesos. Pera po natin to. And this year, we were able to generate, 2017 rather, we were able to generate 40.48 billion in gross income, which translates to 29.44 billion net income. And this will be distributed to all members. Itong net income natin in forms of dividend equivalent to 7.4%. Since we are, one of our twin mandate is on housing, we are also happy to inform you that for 2017, we were able to generate a total of 65 or lend a total of 65.1 billion in housing home lending under our home lending program, benefiting close to 81,000 members. These are the bold reforms that we introduced in making home ownership very accessible to our members. As we said, these are the strategies that we are implementing, and the feedbacks coming from you will be very important so that this will be more applicable sa mga miyembro natin. Unang-una, we were able to reduce the interest rate to as low as 3%. This is intended for the low-income groups. And at the same time, for those who need more, we were able to increase the loanable amount from 3 million to 6 million. Then we also improved the insurance policy system natin, wherein the insurance premiums was practically reduced by 50% for both the mortgage redemption insurance and the non-life insurance. Improved quality of services, basic services. We are now fully decentralized in as far as frontline servicing is concerned, not only being done by Pag-ibig but as well as our service providers, including our collecting agents. So this time, ang Pag-ibig Fund miyembro po, hindi na kailangan pupunta pa sa Pag-ibig Fund, especially to pay the housing amortizations, but we have already so many collecting outlets or collection outlets where Pag-ibig Fund can remit the contributions or amortizations. Then, the G2G transaction will be implementing employers accreditation and the strong partnership with housing developers. And ang pinaka-importante po, in support of the Balay program of the national government, which is building adequate, livable and affordable and inclusive Filipino communities, we are implementing po this countryside housing initiative program. Ito po yung main thrust ngayon ng Pag-ibig. That's why we are doing an intensive campaign among local government units, big employers, to make sure that we can tie up with them, with our existing developers, so the accredited developers, so that we can come up with housing projects that would benefit the constituents. And just an example po of these housing projects para mag-engganyo tatanan to avail of this kind of program. Ito na po yung mga finished product namin when we started implementing this program last year. A very good example here is the LGU project at a joint venture project with city government of Lucena. Ito po yung housing project nila. This is also a project with the municipal government of Malabon City. We also have this project with San Carlos, which is in Negros Occidental. This is also a tie-up project with us. Another project in Hingoog City, Misamis Occidental po. This is the project of Mayor Gingona. Then we also have project here. This is an old project of the Sarangani Provincial Government here in Jensan. Then the project with Dangkagan, Bukidnon. We also have this LGU project with Quezon City. This is in Metro Manila, Bistekville project. Then the LGU project with Cainta, Rizal. LGU project sa Los Baños po. And ito po yung partnership namin with private employers and developers. And we are happy to inform you that one of the successful project we have is located right here in General Santos City. This is the project of the Dole Philippines. This is a tie-up project between Dole Philippines, a private developer, and Pag-ibig Fund po. Ito yung finished product natin, and the project is ongoing, and this benefited most of the deserving Dole employees. We also have another project here. This is another big project that is located in the Zambales, a tie-up project with Hanjin Corporation. And ito po yung last natin, Patpaw project. This is also located here. This is also located in Polomolog, Cotabato City. So mamaya po, because we have limited time, we will be entertaining questions. And thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you. That is the Senior Vice President of Pag-ibig, Mr. Fermin Santa Teresa. Hindi pala Santa Ana. Okay, the second representative from Pag-ibig who will be joining us in our lightning talk is Miss Sally Banal. So let us give her a big round of applause.
Thank you, Ms. Rochelle. Magandang Jensen po sa ating lahat. I'm given 5 minutes, so I'll be presenting a three-minute video presentation as an overview, 1-minute video presentation on parang instructional video, and 1-minute fast talk. Okay, so that's basically our Pag-ibig loyalty card program. No? But, well, admittedly, this is not an updated video, so let me give a few updates. Ang nakalagay po dito sa video is you'll be getting your card after 30 days. But we already made an enhancement to the program such that you will be able to get, once you apply a loyalty card, no, you will be able to get it immediately. So meron po tayong booth sa labas. If you're interested to apply, nandun po ang ating loyalty card team. Now, the 1-minute fast talk, no, as you may know, access to the benefits of Pag-ibig is through membership. So now you may ask, how can we extend the same benefits to our civil society members? Well, with the passage of RA 9679 in 2009, it provided for the universal coverage to Pag-ibig Fund of all Filipino workers. So this means that any Filipino worker earning at least 1,000 pesos a month can be a member of Pag-ibig Fund. That's why in 2009, we really expanded our membership to include OFWs, members of cooperatives, homeowners association, drivers, market vendors, and even fisher folk. So dito po papasok ngayon yung access ng ating mga CSOs. Now, you may ask also, what are the efforts or concrete efforts being done by the Pag-ibig Fund to ensure that we will be able to have a membership from the CSWO. Actually, in Pag-ibig Fund, we call it members of other working groups. So just to share with you what are the concrete steps that were taken by Pag-ibig Fund, we have created a department that will concentrate solely on the membership or recruitment of our other working groups. And for this year, our target is to have a cumulative membership of 151,000. Now, what are we doing to have this 151 membership? Wholesale approach po tayo. We seek endorsements from the LGU so that we'll be able to connect with local leaders. So this means leaders of homeowners association, of TODA, market vendors, etc. Concrete accomplishments, we have signed a MOA with Card MRI for the registration and collection of membership savings. And we're having an example of a big event. We're having a TODA Summit in Quezon City in March 2018, wherein we're expecting about 700 tricycle drivers to be registered. Ano po? But then in doing this campaign, we realized that members from this group of workers are not easily attracted to become Pag-ibig members. Some of them might say na, kulang nga kami ng kinikita, how can we contribute pa? They think that our housing programs are not affordable. This is despite the fact that we have made customized programs for this group of workers. So, as our strategy, we make the loyalty card available to these members. So, eto po kasi, we realize na instant gratification ng loyalty card because our members are able to avail of discounts and rewards from our partner establishments as seen from the video. So what are the benefits that they can get from the loyalty card? Example would be discount from medicines. TGP is a partner, but kung wala pong TGP sa lugar ninyo, we're also partnering with local drugstores, and then purchase on grocery items, mayroon pong rewards points yan, at marami pa pong iba. So, when they become Pag-ibig members, that's the time that they are able to have access to the many benefits. Now, just, you might be asking, who are the partners of the Pag-ibig Loyalty Card Program in Jensen, no? So, run through lang po. Marami po kaming schools na partners, such as Holy Child College in Information, Shalom, Crest Wizard, Golden State College, and then hospitals, we have Ala Valley Medical, Jensen Doctors Hospital, La Riosa Clinic and Hospital, the Diangas Crown Bookstore, and yes, meron po tayong kapartner na funeral, for a funeral service, so ito po yung Monticello. And then sa hotel naman po, Fila Grande Hotel. Hopefully, we'll be able to get also the Green Leaf Hotel. Now, as to our target, no, for 2018, we expect to enroll 7 million members. In 2019, 9 million members. 2020, 11 million members. Cumulative po. And then 2021, 12.5 million members. And 2022, 13.5 members. And every year, we expect to add 50 more partners who will be giving discounts and benefits to our Pag-ibig Loyalty Card members. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sally. We are also happy that we are joined by the Provincial Governor of Cotabato Province. Please welcome Governor Emelula Latalinio. To join us in our lightning talk, we have our last speaker for the morning before our breakout sessions. I'd like to call the representative from the Commission on Higher Education, Mr. Junaib Usman.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I am Mr. Junaib Usman, representing the Commission on Higher Education. I'd like to say thank you for the organizer for our presence here. The task given to Commission on Higher Education is on the formulation of policies, standards, and guidelines. The CHED has formulated the policies and standards in the offering of tertiary program as well as for other programs covering the higher education. I think everyone knows that the great challenge now of CHED is the implementation of the RA 10931, and that is the free higher education for government schools. And I'd like to inform the group that in Region 12, our state universities and colleges, as well as the local colleges, have already implemented this policy. And it's nice that we have now the LGU. We can disseminate this information because I understand that in Parplang area, this is not yet well disseminated. With regards to amendments of the policy standards and guidelines for the PSG, these undergo several stages. And basically, this is done in the national office. The CHED National Office has organized a technical working group, or what is known as the technical panel or technical committee, composed of experts in the different fields. So we have the members from the academe, from the industry, from the other sectors like government agencies like DOST. We have the DSWD and the DOLE because they can give input on what is needed in the industry. But I'd like to tell the group that this is not done in the regional level. So karamihan po sa public hearing is being done in the national office. What is being practiced at the regional level is only the implementation. And it's good that this forum has explained to us that there should be more participation coming from civil society and in the grassroots level. So I think wala masyado akong ma-discuss, ma-share sa inyo how the consultation is done really sa grassroots level. But we can still work on this. We can still integrate input in the national, coming from the grassroots level. With this, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'll stay mamaya for other sessions so that I can also learn from the group and integrate other suggestions coming from the group. With this, I'd like to say thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Sir Usman. At this point, we'd like to thank our agency representatives. So let us break into groups. Ready na? It's all okay. It is flashed on the screen where the room assignments corresponding to the agencies where you'd like to join. So Pag-ibig will be in the plenary hall here in Pandan A. Your facilitator and documenter will be Mafe and Laila. For CHED, it's plenary hall Pandan B. The facilitator is Yan and the documenter is Bert. For DOH, you have the Sage and Cilantro room in the second floor. Sa baba po siya. You will be joined in by Jen, Dessa, and Mark. So the facilitators will be discussing the mechanics of the consultation. So you will now break into groups kung saan nyo po gustong mag-join. After the workshop, we will have our lunch here at the plenary hall at around 12:30 p.m. So we'll push for 12:30. So pwede na po mag-proceed tayo sa preferred groups.
Okay po, so we'll start our workshops. Yung pong gustong makisali sa diskusyon ng Pag-ibig, dito po magstay po sa unahan. Yung pong sa discussions for the initiative of CHED, sa likod po tayo pumunta. So free. Apo, nagsasara po ang ating plenary hall, hahatiin po ito sa gitna. Hindi naman po buo, pero ayun po, hahatiin po natin siya. Para naman po sa gustong makilahok sa diskusyon ng DOH initiative, sa baba po tayo, sa second floor, sa Sage and Cilantro. Magpagkababa lang po natin ng hagdan, may kita na po natin saan yung Sage and Cilantro. So, ayun po, salamat po at let's start the workshop para po makakain na rin po tayo by 12:30. Malinaw naman po? Okay, basta kanya-kanya po kung saan po kayo gustong pumunta, doon po kayo pumunta po.
Also joining us this morning is the Honorable Provincial Governor of South Cotabato, Governor Daisy Avance Fuentes. Welcome, ma'am.